All right. Welcome to season two of Fulk It. Decided to call it season two because we're going to take a little pivot. And if you were around and you heard any of season one, you heard I started off with my idea for protecting your brain, information, your brain, dealing with the volume of information, how people try to use it against you online, and to understand and frame it all, we started with my concept of your brain as a jungle. If you didn't hear any of the other podcasts before, go back right now. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can kind of skim it, but pick up the idea of what I mean by your brain is a jungle because that is primary to the whole Fulk It phenomenon. And this, trust me, this is a phenomenon. It's running wild. You want to get on board this train. So, season one, we talked a lot about generative AI and capacity to make fake information, but not much else. This bubble that we're in where, while I'm searching for jobs, everybody's talking about Gen AI, this and that, and trying to apply it in ways that don't make a lot of sense. Because at the end of it, it's a statistical model of words and this next token prediction it's randomly choosing what the next word is going to look like, so you can never trust that kind of statistical model for something important, but it's applied that way all the time. So pivoting in season two, I want to pivot off of that somewhat because I want to look at information spaces online and how it's being applied. I see articles all the time, reports, studies, just news articles from world events about how online, we're looking at massive amounts of fake accounts. We're looking at deep fake videos. We're looking at people that are claiming real videos are deep fakes. We're looking at images that are, not real, posted everywhere. And there's a lot to talk about. So I'm going to pivot. I'm going to do some of my solo rants just where I pick an article and run with it. And then maybe talk about how to do it, like what you would do. And that's what I'm going to do a little bit today. Just give you a little teaser. We're going to talk about something specific. But before that, I wanted to make sure we touch base and recap season one. So when we were talking earlier about, generative AI and how it's not really useful for, applications where you need it to be right, that's very important. So in, the spirit of protecting our brains, I wanted to say this, right up front. And people that have already tuned out, sorry, but stick with me just a couple more minutes. And this is the important thing. You can skip the rest. Every time, just do me a favor. Every time you see an article, a comment online, someone is talking to you and they say the word or phrase or, acronym AI, every time it comes up with interactions day to day at the grocery store, your neighbor, your colleagues, your coworker, news articles you see, stuff posted on social media, wherever you see it, local news broadcasts, stop. Stop. And then call it a statistical model. See if it still makes sense. Are people, when they're writing AI, still trying to make it seem like magic AI, like Skynet AI, like real robot AI, some kind of intelligence that's able to think? Because that's not what exists. It's not what exists. And there's no path to building that, except people are claiming they can throw an enormous amount of data and money at it. But there's no technical, well defined, studied, grounded in science research path to get there. It's still basic. It's still basic research to get to that. If it's even possible, which I think it's right to doubt that it's even possible until you see breadcrumbs that take you there. What we do have are statistical models of data and statistical models of language, statistical models of images and videos that you can kind of morph into weird looking things that aren't quite real, but look a lot like what it had seen before in its training. All right. So this is the favor. Every time, just call it out. Say, oh, Stop. You just said AI. Mike told me, Fulk It. He said, stop. What do you mean by AI? Are you talking like magic AI? Because I see articles all the time that still call this out in the headlines. And, they're talking about open AI. They're talking about companies like Google and Gemini and coding. And even though a lot of people have come around to understand that vibe coding doesn't work, it's not a very good idea to do it. Um, even using the coding assistants aren't very helpful for most, qualified programmers. Even though that's happened, there's still this push online. I think it's the season two topic now. We're transitioning to season two. I think there's this push that generative AI got from probably more than one well funded entity that planned to make it sound like magic, and it worked. Like, man, there are so many people that are still all in. They're pushing their chips in. They're like AI this, AI that. I'm gonna get on my Meta earnings call and my Google earnings call and my Open AI earnings call, and I'm gonna tell everybody we're building more data centers because we believe there we're gonna get there. We believe we're showing the world it's coming. The magic AI is coming. I don't believe it, but that's what's happening. So that push is well funded, and there are people who have a lot of money tied up in this, and we are not going to stop that. Like there are a lot of really good people in the more skeptical community, and I call it realist. It's not skeptical. We're contrarians in some ways to this magic AI story, the magic beanstalk, the magic eight ball, the magic AI. We're contrarians, but we're grounded in reality, and we're realists. We're demanding evidence for magic claims of magic. Um, Even alchemists had better, claims on possibly turning lead to gold than we have claims on producing magic Skynet level AI, which is preposterous. So that's what season two, we're going to pivot, we're going to shift, we're going to say, all right, well, now let's think about these stories. Let's think about who could be funding them. How are they distributing their story? Their story that they want to tell us is magic AI is almost there, or they have a way to get to magic AI. Trust us. It's just we haven't seen it yet. It's behind their corporate doors. So they're pushing a story as well as other people. I mean, it's probably, like I said, multiple funded groups out there want this story to keep have legs. And that's driven the economic bubble. It's driven all kind of frenzy. It's driven news cycle for years now. Defense spending, intelligence agency spending, AI startup land, venture capital. The story is what has driven it. So for this next season two of Fulk It, I want to dig into those stories, what they look like, and just a couple of examples. I don't want to make our intro season two too long. It's Fulk It. We got other stuff to do today, like workout. We are protecting our brain and our body, by the way, with working out. But we are talking about really well-funded campaigns. There was this article that I just saw a few days ago. 49 million accounts were taken down in Europe. It was 49 million like SIM cards in a phone rack where people were able to create accounts. And you got to be well funded to put that kind of thing up. It's not an accident that you've got a center, like a room where you build a rack with all of these phones and all of these SIM cards and everything's connected together, and you've got to command and control it. It's not easy to do the high end operations. It's easy to do some of the low end operations, but that's part of the push. If you want to influence people online, you can write a story, you can put out a blog post, you can make a comment on somebody else's blog post or somebody else's social media post. You can do like this. You can create a podcast and get 5 to 10 users listening to you drone on and on and on. But you've got a good tagline. You can do all these things to get your story out. Um, Coordinating that push online, though, if you've got money, people know how to do it. One of the ways is many, many, many fake accounts. One of the ways is buying people who are podcasters who have a big following, buying people who are influencers on, social media. One of the ways, and you don't have to buy them in a bad way. You can kind of fund them. Like if they don't have a job like me and they, want to, get some, money for pushing the story, probably seems innocuous for the most part. It's the coordinated effort of multiple types of distribution with one story or one set of stories that evolve around a central theme that allows you to influence a lot of people. So that's where we're going a little bit more this time. Yep, that 49 million story. We'll probably talk into deep dive on that one. I don't want to give away too much. There's a number of others out there that I've seen recently. One of the cool ones, since I brought up working out, this will be my last thing for today. I do an Instagram. Talked about it with Tim on some of the other podcasts, but Mike 50 at 50 on Instagram. Trying to get back in shape at over 50 is the theme. I had pretty good luck. Love jump roping. There's a ton of great people on Instagram. It's one of these weird jump rope communities are nice. They're not mean. For the most part, it's really supportive and great, especially if you're older. So I do that to protect my body, right? Because body and brain are similar. You have to work them out, take care of them so that they last you a long time and they stay sharp. You want to stay strong physically. You want to stay strong mentally. You don't want to use just Gen AI slop tool. You want to exercise your brain. You want to exercise your muscles and your heart and all these things. So it was in that setting where I saw the Consumer Report story about lead in your protein powder. I shared it with my people that follow me on 50 at 50 on Instagram. Caveating it, of course, I was like, hey, this report comes out. It looks interesting. It's claiming there's a lot of lead in some of these protein powders. It's got good methodology. It's probably something everybody should check out. But I'll follow up with more details because usually when you get some type of story like this, especially Consumer Reports on health, further, critiques will come out and responses to the critiques from the original authors. So it's good to stay on top of it. It's not just a one-time thing. I'm going to share with my people that, jump rope and sometimes think I know what I'm talking about occasionally. I'm going to share the story, but I'm also going to say, oh, I'm going to follow up because, I want to find good information. That's what I'm trying to do, find good information. So I looked through that story initially, and the methodology did look sound. They had good measuring equipment. They paid for, high quality lab to look at multiple types of protein powders. They bought it from multiple samples. They checked the lots. They bought it from multiple locations, and then they tested and compared it to a metric that was Prop 60 something. I forget what it was. I don't want to, I think I know it, but I don't want to say it because I don't know it. In California, and this standard that they picked, they looked at here's the protein powder, here's how much lead it has, how much should a person have in a day based on that Prop 60 whatever out in California. And it was high for multiple, and it was high for the vegetarian powders, which is important to me. I'm vegetarian. I'm only getting the vegan powders for the most part. It's a lot of pea protein. So, but it was curious, like, why are the vegetarian powders showing up so high on the list? Because they're closer to the bottom of the food chain. What is it about it? So, sure enough, day or two later, we get good follow-ups I see from two independent people. One was Arnold, who sends a weekly newsletter, and it was maybe his editor, maybe it was Arnold's editor, but Arnold puts out a Arnold Schwarzenegger, puts out a little thing I follow about fitness, and it's pretty good to read, like a Monday morning kind of Arnold letter. He came to a similar conclusion as one of the health and fitness is more of a health influencer who corrects misinformation a lot of times. And she's all over um, multiple social media feeds. But they both had the same conclusion, which made a lot of sense to me, which was the level that they picked. Like nothing was wrong methodologically with what they did and the measurements, the numbers looked good. That was what I looked at. The numbers, they looked realistic. Nothing obvious wrong. But that comparison point, they were comparing to this Prop 60, whatever, California number, and they did not do a nice visualization graphic showing, hey, here's what the US FDA number is for lead a day, and here's how it would compare. And here's what the European standard is, and here's how it would compare. It would have been really nice to put that in one chart. So in the claims of the paper, a couple of the protein powders were really high and put you near the threshold for 1 day. But then when you looked at these other standards, you realize, oh, okay, um, those other standards have a much higher daily threshold, and so you're eating these protein powders, and they're insignificant compared to that total number. It was just this really conservative metric that they picked and didn't disclose that conservative metric in a way that like made it easy to digest. So the point. Consumer Reports puts out a study. It's alarming. Big headlines. I saw lots of people sharing it, including me, less carefully than I did, though, about, hey, look, everybody eating protein needs to stop. Here, no wonder everybody's dumb that goes to the gym. So it was sensationalist headlines, comments on social media, followed by these corrections that have kind of come out. I haven't seen the follow up from Consumer Reports, but I'm sure they'll have something and I'll digest the follow up and then process it. But it looks to me like it was good information that they shared about the lead content. It led me and others to figure out that vegetables, food that you eat a lot of times has similar type of lead content. And it's important to understand that. And like what is it in the protein powder versus what is it in, eating your daily allotment of vegetables or, hamburger if you eat meat, if you still eat meat. So understanding all of this was good information. Like often when you're taking these supplements, including protein powders, going to the gym, and I don't do it very often. I do sometimes, like maybe twice, 3 times a week. I'll add it to my oatmeal when I'm working out hard. Sprints are tough when you're over 50, so I'll give myself a half a scoop of the protein powder. But it's supplements aren't regulated, and it's one of those vectors for people getting bad information about good stuff to take, and substituting with supplements that are not regulated, which was the real issue here to me. Like Consumer Reports shouldn't have to give me that kind of study. It should be freely available from the supplement manufacturers and trustworthy, audited by something like FDA, so that the supplement industry is like more trustworthy because of some type of regulation and testing that everybody agrees on and shares, and it's processed that way. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just sharing the story because it went viral in the fitness world and the protein world. And I saw multiple influencers who all work out, within a week or so. They're all doing the story about the protein powder. And it comes back to what we're talking about in season 2, which is if you're going to push a story or a narrative, in this case, the story is that protein powder is bad for you because it's got too much lead. Or a bigger picture story that you want to hint at is that supplement industry is bad, or that people who are in the gym taking supplements are not smart because they're getting lead poisoned. These are all stories within the story. So we've got this one piece of factual information in Consumer Reports, and then it hints at these other things that you're supposed to trigger your brain. Remember, in the forest of our brain, we've got all these paths, and the paths are connected. So if they're trying to connect these stories, and this is hypothetical, right? I don't think Consumer Reports is really doing this. I doubt it, but it doesn't matter. We're hypothetical now. We're telling a story about lead and protein powder, and it's going to trigger some other stories. So the way we would purposely coordinate this is when Consumer Reports comes out, we have a bunch of fake accounts immediately start liking their stories that they publish in socials so that the algorithms see that content is hot. And these can be low value fake accounts. We have other accounts that we comment on. So as soon as it comes out, we comment. Maybe we even argue a little bit and we like the comments that promote our story high so that those comments bubble to the top. So now we've got Consumer Reports putting out their study, linking to their website with their story about how they did the stuff. We're posting it on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Threads and X and Blue Sky and Twitch, maybe, I don't know, Discord, Reddit, all of these channels. We pump it out. And then we have our accounts bump it up. And the algorithms will eventually kick in and start showing it to more and more people, and more people are gonna like it and jump on. And you don't need those accounts working it so hard at that point. Your fake accounts, they're giving it a bump if they can, especially if you've got influencers. So if you've got some fitness guys like me in your pocket and you say, hey, I'm gonna bump this story, from Consumer Reports, have something ready to go. I start talking about it, linking to it in my section, getting people that listen to my podcast to go look at this story. And it's driving traffic. It's pushing my narrative. Now, this is just one piece of a larger, marketing campaign, let's call it. It's a campaign. We're going to market ourselves, our story about lead and protein powders. And it's not going to just be a one-day thing. We're going to keep banging this drum. Lead and protein powders. People in gyms are lead poisoned. Supplement industry is bad. And this was a big one though. So we get big organizations like Consumer Reports about to drop. We've got to maximize it. So we're going to hit it fast with all of these accounts and all these different angles, influencers, likes, comments, shares. We're going to push it across platform so that we can make this push, have legs. We want it to be initially us helping it, but then a lot of people get interested and start creating original content and sharing it and talking about it naturally so that it, runs. And the reason why we do that is because your brain is a jungle. That's why I said start with episode 1. If you're with me this long, start with episode 1 because your brain is a jungle. And repeating a story, especially if you give it a subtle different angle so it gets depth, right? Like there's stories and then stories within the story that kind of complement it. Protein powder, supplement industry, gym people have lead poisoning, gym people are dumb. And what you're doing is you're walking these paths in people's brains. And the more times people see it, the more they start to trust it and believe it, even if it's not true. We can't help it. That's just how our brains work. We walk the paths in these jungles, and when the path becomes well worn, we take it. It's shorter. It's faster to take that well worn path. This is just what people are. So again, nothing bad about Consumer Reports. A lot of people have had comments about it. I'm not here to comment it. I'm here to talk about protecting your brain. Whenever you see any kind of story that, especially if it's online and you're not used to being online, or you're just tired and you're not sure what to make of something because you don't feel like researching it, hold off. Stop again with the stop. We're going to stop when people say AI, and we're going to stop when a story seems unnaturally pushed, when lots of chatter about something from all kinds of different angles seems to come really fast and hard all at once. That's that to me is a, oh, look, I'll evaluate it, but I'm not gonna fall into this trap. Now I have. Let's be real. Of course, I've fallen into this trap. It's only looking back in time that I can say I haven't. But this is what we're thinking. Build up our kind of armor to that push of story online, and that's how we tell everybody, Fulk it. Don't go messing with my brain. I'm out of here.